Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. We got a few topics we'll cover today. Hopefully it'll help you make some money here going into May. So, 5-minute moneymaker. We were talking about this last week, which was the cost of healthcare that is above and beyond what Medicare pays. And they use a Monte Carlo simulation. They found out that the average man would need 124, and the average woman 140 because they live longer. So combined, 264 on average, and that does not include long-term care costs. So if you're not aware of the one-way presentation, that is something that you should absolutely go look at the website, because it is a fabulous way to address this. And we have guys that make a ton of money using the one-way presentation. 5Q tape breakdown was talking about how when we accidentally correct them, how we fix that. So that's a great teaching moment that we can all use to get a little bit better at when we make that mistake of correcting them, how to fix it. So a little bit about the economy. So how do we know what the economy is going to do? How do we predict what the economy is going to do, guys? We really can't, can we? Now, there's lots of lagging indicators. But how many leading indicators are there? Everybody can say that we're in a recession after we've been in a recession for months. Everybody can say we're coming out of a recession after we've been coming out of the recession for months. But there's not a lot of leading indicators out there, but there is a few out there. One of them is new home starts. And the reason new home starts are a great indicator or leading indicator of the economy is it takes months, or can you start building a house right away, or does it take months to plan? Does it take months to build and sell? Does it take, how much confidence do you have to have in your job and the economy in order to start something like a house? So this is a great leading indicator. So what's happened to the new home starts here since the beginning of the year? Yeah, so new home sales are down 7.8%. Existing home sales are down 4.8%. And new starts as well is down close to 10%. It's the steepest decline in 5 years. So, and Home Depot stock also are down 16% since the high. So does that mean that we're going into a recession? Absolutely not. But what does it mean? What does it mean? It means we better be what? Cautious moving into the, we don't want any irrational exuberance going forward. We need to be cautious going forward, okay? And what can happen, right now, where's our debt? Where's our national debt right now? Where's our national debt right now? Yeah, it's unbelievably high, higher than it's ever been before. So, we certainly are not being, now, what are all the other countries around the world doing right now with their debt? Every single country, developed country, except for the U.S., is doing right now. Every other developed country, except for the U.S., is doing what right now? No, they're not borrowing more. They're not adding debt. They're actually, that's right, John. They're lowering it. They're paying off their debt. So we're the only developed nation, because when you look at the economies historically, what do you want to do? During good times, what do you generally want to do with your debt? During good times, what do you want to do with your debt? Pay it off. But what did we do with this tax law change? We've created much more debt. So what does that what happens? No, and then consumer debt. Where's consumer debt right now? High. So we have national debt high, consumer debt high. We've got apparently a slowing economy. What kind of things can happen, or what's the main thing we're worried about when these things happen, especially debt? Interest rates, inflation, exactly. And the reason I bring that up is last week I had a are you kidding me moments with two advisors. These are smart guys, but it's amazing. Isn't it amazing, guys? I think it was Sinclair Lewis said that trying to convince somebody of a fact when their paycheck revolves around it is a very difficult thing. So what do you guess, based on we're talking about inflation, what do you think my two are you kidding moments with two advisors who are smart and they blew my mind at the stupid things that they were doing? What do you think it was? What do you think they were doing or weren't aware of? Yes, Nick, you got it. You got it. They're still selling bonds. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Guys, where does your bond portfolio belong right now? So I'm going to guess what? I'm going to keep showing you this chart. 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 Why? Why am I going to keep showing you this chart? Until 100% of you are using FIAs instead of bonds, I'm going to keep showing you this chart. Where does your guaranteed money belong? I want everybody to answer this now. And I'm going to be looking at all the names here so that I know that I won't at least have this same conversation with any of the guys that answer this question over the next week. Where does your guaranteed money go? So we got Jonathan, Dave, Till, Mark, Dan, and Dave, Wade, Nick, Dale, Jerry, Tom, Scott. I can't even keep up anymore. Everybody's saying FIAs. Yes, please, please, please. What do you think happened to my head when I talked to these guys and they still had their clients' money management portfolios in bonds? Yeah, it exploded. Exactly, Tom. It exploded. So please, guys, let's be smart. Yeah, boom, exactly. So next topic. This is a little bit about selling skills here. So can I tell who you are in less than 2 seconds? What do you think the studies have shown? They call it thin slicing, when they take just very small periods of time and see what happens. Do you think, what have they figured out that yeah, everybody's saying yes, you're exactly right. In fact, the Journal of Consumer Psychology and Financial Times did a joint study. And what they found is that successful salespeople, or a successful sale depends on customers' perception of a salesperson's personality, motivations, trustworthiness, and effect. So can people tell in very short periods of time what kind of personality you have? I'd say yes and no. The unfortunate thing about this is what? Have you ever seen a person who you thought, that guy's and this has happened to me a lot. People think Mike's a jerk, or I'll think that guy's a jerk or whatever, because they're not talking. They give short answers. There's no eye contact. So it's like they're haughty or they're above it. But then when you find out, why are they that way? Because they're jerks or because they're shy? So when you actually start talking to them and their shyness goes away, they become the nicest person in the world. So the unfortunate thing is, guess what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether the person's actually a nice person and they're shy, but if the person perceives them as a jerk, guess what's going to happen, especially in sales? Yeah, first impression does it all, exactly. So motivations, trustworthiness, it doesn't matter what your true motivations are. It doesn't matter whether you're trustworthy or not. It doesn't matter what the effect because these things are going to be judged. And whether they're right or wrong, guess what they found? Well, we'll get into this, but guess what they found? How long those first impressions last. That's right, John. People resist. They last. So, I mean, they've got this meter, right? They look at you and they're going to immediately tell you, what are you? What are you? Boom, 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 boom. And then unfortunately, that hole has been dug and you got to crawl out of that hole. Now, I'm going to go through several different studies and what they found. So one study rated a 20-second audio clips, just 20 seconds, guys. And it wasn't even visual, it was just audio. And they rated people on interpersonal skills, task-related skills, like your, and well, we'll see that, and your anxiety. What they found out with first impressions were that first impressions are lasting, and it takes a few seconds to make judgments when meeting people. You can control the kind of impression you make, but it won't happen without planning. You need to have a well-constructed persona when you meet people, because if you just walk into it, you don't know how they're going to take you. Initial impressions are formed quickly without the information needed to form an accurate assessment. See, that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter whether they're right or not, because they could very well not be right, but they're still going to be. It's still going to be stick with you. Initial impressions are instinctive. An interviewer often relies on the initial impression to determine the best person for the job. And guess what the studies have found? They found that the people who interviewers liked in the first 10 seconds, it didn't matter what happened after that. Guess who got the job? Not 10 seconds, I'm sorry, 30 seconds. The first 30 seconds, guess who got the job, regardless of how the rest of the interview went? that person who had a good impression in the first 30 seconds. Our site is strongest sense and provides us with enough information to determine how we will feel about someone we just met. I mean, they're determining, is this person trustworthy? Are they too pushy? Are they helpful? Are they informative? And the thing is, there's 3 layers of the mind. It's only, and this is the real problem. This is why first impressions are so difficult, is that the conscious mind is only is 10% of the decision-making process. The subconscious, which is things that have happened to you in the past, your belief system, things that you have learned in the past, that's 50 or 60%. You're not actually using that information to make well-detailed decisions. You're not putting down a Ben Franklin close, or you're saying here's the advantages on one side and here's the disadvantages on the other side. You're not doing that. It's all that information is in your mind, and then you're making heuristic decisions or shortcut decisions. Your subconscious mind is using, like your computer, all that information, just making snap judgments. That's 50 to 60%. That's the vast majority of the decision-making process. Unfortunately, the conscious decision is only 10%. And in the unconscious, that's instinctual. That's the the fight, flight, the things that we're hardwired for. Is 30 to 40%. So you can see that we've got 90% of their decision-making process, and whether they can trust us or not, or whether they like us or not, is not even conscious. It's instinctual, or it's being done heuristically or with snap judgments based on their past experience. So we have our job cut out for us. So in the first 5 minutes, the meeting is largely over if you don't do it right. So largely nonverbal. They're going to be looking at your facial expressions, your gestures, your voice, your body movements. And the problem is there's a ton of nonverbal leakage. Can we control what we say? Can we control what we say? Yeah, we can control what we say. That's what the whole 5Q system is about, is controlling what we say. If we correct them, we fall on the sword and apologize for that, and blah blah blah. If we ask questions too hard, we fall on the sword. So we can control what we say. We can ask open-ended questions instead of telling presentations. We can control what we say, but the nonverbal leakage occurs when people are unsuccessful in attempting to control messages sent non-verbally. While people are successful in controlling facial expressions, leakage occurs in arms, hands, feet, and legs. These are difficult to control. Now, do you think people are looking at your arms, hands, feet, and legs, and your gestures, and do you think that they're consciously making a determination, or is that all going subconsciously and unconsciously? Yeah, it's not intentional, exactly. So identified in U.S. culture by physiological changes such as pupil size, skin color, as well as licking lips, tapping fingers. So what they found is that if you're scared or if you're lying, your pupil size gets bigger. But how many people actually look at your pupil size and says, oh, his pupil size is bigger, he must be lying or he must be afraid? How many people do that? They don't. But they do register subconsciously or unconsciously that your pupils are dilated. And it puts them on a high alert. Does that make sense to you? See, and the problem with us is this. You can't look at yourself in the mirror. So can you see what that person is seeing? Can you see what that person is seeing? No, you can't. But here's what I've learned after 18 years of coaching guys. After 18 years of coaching guys and listening to 60,000 tapes, Jeff, if you can unmute yourself there, how much can we tell what's going on? Just like that we saw that first study with 20-second audio clip, how much can we tell that's going on, even though we're not seeing the video? Because we used to video guys. We used to have guys send in videotapes, and we found out, first of all, it was very disturbing to the clients to have a videotape there. They don't care about audio tapes, so video really weirds them out. But what we found is even what we saw in the videotapes, most of it, we could tell what was going on. I'll give you. Well, first of all, Jeff, can we tell what's going on verbally in a meeting, whether somebody's conscious or not conscious, whether there's a good relationship between the advisor and the client? How much can we tell when we're listening to those tapes, Jeff?
He's trying to get himself off mute. Hold on one second.
So, guys, while we're waiting for Jeff, do you think I can tell somebody's gesturing a lot based just on what I'm hearing on the tape, if he's gesturing a lot? You bet I can. So can I tell whether the advisor's in a good mood or a bad mood just by listening to the tape? I mean, we can tell all. That's right. We can tell everything we need to know just from the tape that's going on verbally. Would the video add some clarity? Possibly, but really we don't even need it because we can get so much information from the audio. Did we figure Jeff out yet?
Yeah, well, we switched headsets.
Oh, okay. It was not working. So how much information do you get about these nonverbal cues when you're listening to a tape?
Oh, you can tell a lot. I mean, you can tell exactly what's going on in a meeting. Guys are surprised how much you can tell.
And so though the video would be great, we can still give you a lot of information if you send in the tapes. But here's the thing: if you can't see yourself when you're looking in the mirror, what's the second best way then? What's the next best way to see what's going on and what the clients are seeing? You got it. Well, Nick, let me ask you. Nick says listen to yourself. What do you mean by listen to yourself, Nick? Yeah, listen to the tapes. You got to listen to the tapes. Tapes. When you can tell what's going on if you listen to the tapes, believe me. So before you say something, stop and think how you'd feel if someone said it to you. And guess where you work on that, guys? During the 15-minute drill. So are you doing that 15-minute drill every single day? Are you listening for how you sound? Do you sound friendly, not overly friendly, but friendly, polite, courteous, professional? Or do you sound wound up, like you're overly excited? Or do you sound depressed, like you don't even want to be there? Or do you sound like a robot because you're monotone? So listen to, these are things that you can be doing with the 15-minute drill as well. So what we talk about them seeing us subconsciously, unconsciously is, we all heard of poker tells. They can tell based on what you're doing whether you're confident or not, and these are hard to control. So how do we control? How do we become very, very confident in the meeting? Yeah, you got it, Nick. See who else gets it. That Jonathan's got it. Jerry's got it. Just you three? Knowing the script. Okay, everybody's getting it now. Yeah, know the script. And I always say, should you do the scripts until you get them right? Is that when you should do the scripts until you get them right? No. What should you do them till? Till you can't get them wrong. That's right. You do them not till you can get them right. Do them till you can't get them wrong. When it's harder to do something wrong, think about this. If you say the Our Father prayer, or you do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, it's harder to screw that up than it is to do it right. It's easier to do it. Right than it is to do it wrong. Does that make sense? And that's where you want to get to the scripts, because then you have the utmost confidence. And here's the funny thing that happens with the scripts: when you master the scripts, do you sound? And that's what a lot of guys are afraid of with scripting. When you master the scripts, do you sound like you're doing a script? Is there anybody on the call that's gone to a lot of concerts of like the old bands, like the Rolling Stones or U2 or whatever? Do they do their sound? Shoot, John, why can't I get it? Deadhead, yeah. Do they do the songs the exact same way? I mean, they've been doing them for 30, 40 years. Or do they riff? Do they do them differently? Some are saying same, some are saying improv. A lot of the bands I've seen, because they've done the song so often, they'll riff, they'll do things different because they know it so well. What can they do with it? They can make it their own. So that's how you get confidence. One of the ways that, again, nonverbal, one of the ways that I showed my utmost professionalism was I wrote upside down. When I was explaining something, I wrote upside down. I could write better upside down than upside right. What does that say to a client? I'm not saying anything. It's all that is writing upside down a nonverbal cue. Is writing upside down a verbal or a nonverbal cue? It's a nonverbal cue. What is it telling them? Confidence and experience and skill. You guys got it right. Confidence, experience, and skill. So it's odd that would of all the things that people commented on, All the things that people commented on, they say, Mike, you're so smart, or Mike, this is an unbelievable presentation you made. For the year I made $1 million. What do you think the number one thing they commented on? My plan, my genius, how friendly I was. What did they comment on? The fact that I could write upside down. And what they're saying there is, wow, this guy has done this how many times? Many, many times. So that's a great example of a non-Q. That it's a tell that what? I've got experience. I've done this many times before. I'm courteous to clients. Writing upside down what is that telling the client? That I care about what they, how they learn, or what they're, how much they get out of this or not. See, it's just so many Qs. So there's another study using university professors, and they asked 9 students. They showed them 10-second silent video clips of 15. They took 9 students, and they showed them 3 10-second video clips of 15 professors. So just a total of 30 seconds of those professors, and they rated them on accepting, active, anxious, attentiveness, whether they're competent or not, confident or not, dominant, empathetic, enthusiastic, honest, likable, optimistic, professional, supportive, warm, and how accurate. In the end, the students ranked them on this, and then on just 30 seconds worth of information, not even verbal, nonverbal, and then they compared that to how these professors, supervisors, ranked them on this. So people who had known these professors for many years, and it was their job to judge how well the professor was doing. How closely do you think that these 9 new students that had never seen the professors before ranked them as compared to people who had known them forever on these? Closely or not closely? Boy, we're about 50-50. Half are saying closely, half are saying not. It ends up very, very closely. Very, very closely. So there's many case studies done on this, and they've looked at employment interviews with thin slicing, doctors with thin slicing, physical therapists with thin slicing, dating managers. They've looked at gazillions of case studies, and they've all shown that people react very significantly to first impressions or don't. They react very, very close to it. And again, this kind of goes to what we've been talking about. Do you think, shouldn't have done that. So when it came to accuracy, when they asked people to make a snap judgment, when they showed them those videos or showed them the audios or whatever they were doing for this thin slicing study, with whatever, I don't care if it was doctors, dating, or whatever, what do you think was more accurate when they said, sit down, I want you to think about this for 15 minutes, put it the pros and the cons, really think about what they were doing, what they weren't doing, and decide on these things. Put some thought into it. Or when they said, make a snap judgment, give me an answer right now in 10 seconds, 10 seconds, and 10 seconds, and 10 seconds. Which one is more accurate? When they had people think about things, or the snap judgment? Yep, snap judgment. Everybody's getting it right, Till, right, Susan? The snap judgment. And again, why is that? Because what percentage of this decision-making process was conscious and unconscious? Or subconscious and unconscious. 90%. So of course, if it's 90%, it's going to be the gut reaction that was more accurate. And again, that's just so dangerous for us, because we can really screw things up front. Now, here's one other interesting thing when I was doing all the research for this call that I found, and that's this should really, really, really ring true with advisors. When I made $50,000 a year and I first started to listen to my tapes, does anybody remember what I thought about myself when I first listened to my tapes when I was making $50,000 a year, when I first started to change and listen to tapes? What did I think about the way I sounded when I had that skill level? Yeah, I was a jerk. I was a great debater. That client knew I was smart. They weren't smart. I was very dominant on that call. They were perfectly... Again, we're talking about when I only made $50,000 a year. So this is the beginning, when I was only making $50,000 a year, and I listened to my tapes and what I sounded like when I was making $50,000 a year. I sounded very confident. I sounded very dominant. I sounded very authoritative. I would put them in their place when they would ask when they would disagree with me, so that they knew that I was right. And what did that make me? Yeah, I was a jerk. I was a jerk to them. So I made 50 grand a year. That's why I made 50 grand a year. I found out when I wasn't the smart person, but they were the smart person, then guess what happened to my income? When I quit being the smart guy and let them be the smart guy, what happened to my income? Went through the roof. Now, here's I found this very interesting. They found that surgeons rated high on dominance and authoritative speaking patterns and nonverbal patterns were much more likely to have been sued. You'd think that a surgeon who was less confident, coming across less confident, surgeon would be the one most likely to be sued, because they're like, I knew he wasn't very authoritative. I knew that he didn't know what he's doing. No, when the surgeon is a little bit hesitant, he's not so in the client's face, they found they were much less likely to be sued. Yeah, relatable. That's the word. So when they looked at salespeople, which is what we're concerned with, but do you think that this also comes into this thing about the surgeons? Do you think that also comes into play with us? Certainly did with me, because that's how I sounded when I was making 50 grand a year. When I quit sounding like this, and again, guys, do you think that I sounded like with clients what I sound like with you on the calls and when I'm coaching you? No, I was the total opposite of what I'm with you guys. I was upbeat constantly, and I never corrected. I never said, and I always asked open-ended questions. I mean, I virtually made no statements, all open-ended questions, and I was very calm and never. With you guys, I'm on a short period of time, so that's why I don't practice what I preach with you guys, because I don't have time to practice what I preach, because I got to get you guys in and out so I can help the next guy. So the study of direct salespeople, they taped 5 sentences, 64 words long, and so there was the exact same 5 sentences, and they taped them at different speeds, pause duration, loudness variability, frequency. So, and what do you think they found? And the target market for this particular product was housewives. Okay, so when they taped these 5 exact sentences, 64 words long, and varied the speed, the pause duration, loudness, variability, where you go talk quietly and go up and talk loud and go down. So when they varied all these things, and the target market was housewives, guess what they found out? Their judgments of attitude and receptivity were not correlated to sales performance. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Their judgments of attitude and receptivity were not correlated to sales performance. So that's the good news for us, is that you don't have to get the speed right. You don't have to get the pauses right. There's lots of tools we can use to make it easier for you. But the beautiful thing about this is it's saying that there is a lot of power in what is being said, or no power in what is being said, according to this study. There's a lot of power in what is being said. There's a lot of power in the scripting of what is being said. Okay, so we have and are using motivational interviewing, and we have all those questions already put together for you. So that's the great thing about the scripts, is that if you're doing them right and not telling people things, telling baby boomers what they should think and what they should do and what is smart and what's not smart, if you instead let them make their own decisions, they're going to be a lot more open to what you have to say, because is it you saying it? If you do it right, is it you saying any of those things? No, it's them. They're saying everything. Exactly. Another larger study conducted with professional buyers, meaning buyers that work for companies, so a construction company the guy that buying the lumber, buying the equipment, or in a department store, the people buying clothing. So they conducted a larger study conducted with professional buyers, and they videotaped salespeople in a sales meeting, and they altered their eye contact, speech hesitations, gestures, clothing, and posture. And they found, what do you think they found? They found 3 major things. So eye contact, speech hesitations, gestures, clothing, and posture. So the findings were, the biggest and most important finding was this: steady eye gaze positively affected believability. And when we used to videotape our advisors, and guess how much time we found advisors typically were looking people in the eye? A lot or not? Even high performers, yeah, not enough. That's what it comes down to, is not enough. Very little. So when they're talking, do you notice they say eye gaze? They don't say eye contact, because eye contact can be what? Yeah, you stare. Exactly. It could be staring. So glance is or eye gaze mean that you're looking at them and look in a way, but you're constantly going back to their eyes. Eye contact is so important. It makes you believable. So be aware of this. And in fact, I had a guy in San Francisco, and I because I spent a whole hour call on eye contact and eye gazing and the power of it. Because guys, there's been study after study after study, and how much power do you think there is in eye contact? And again, I say eye contact, not staring, but eye gazing or eye contact. It's a huge amount of power. And this guy said, in San Francisco, his name is Duncan, and he said, you know what, Mike, I made it a point for 1 week to have total eye contact with everybody I met, whether it was at the getting gas and talking to the clerk at the cash register, or my kids, or my neighbor, or my dry cleaner. And he said it was an eye-opening experience. He says it seems weird. You wouldn't think it was a big deal, but it was an stupid eye-opening experience. That's a silly thing to say. It was a very powerful experience. He said things really, all my communication was really different that week in a very, very good way. So he was really sold on it after trying it. So I would highly recommend that you really make a point, write it down on a piece of paper, write it down, put it on the mirror in your, when you're getting ready in the morning, that have more eye contact or eye gazing with all of your, not only just with your clients, but with everybody. What they found was speech hesitation negatively affected ratings of interesting and persuasive. Aha. Again, we're back to what? What do you think this pertains to when it comes to our system? Not knowing the scripts, yes. Not knowing the scripts. So if you know where you're at, and you're not, and what they're talking about is ums and ahs, and you can slow things down and you can have pauses. But if you're having pauses because you're constantly reaching for the next thing to say, that's going to negatively affect whether you're an interesting or persuasive person. So the better you know your scripts, the better the more interesting you're going to be. And guys, our meetings are an hour and a half to 2 hours long. Do we need to be interesting? Yes, we do. And do we need to be persuasive? Yes, we do. And then what they found, they did find another major thing, and it was with clothing. Guys, people are going to make a snap judgment on your shoes. I know it's stupid. I know it's not fair. You could be the smartest person in the world, the most caring person in the world, but if your shoes look beat up, guess what? If your shoes look beat up, do you look like a professional? Do you look like you're successful? Do you look like a guy I would want to trust all my money with? Also, if you, and I'm sorry to say this, but if you're wearing old man shoes, I know they're comfortable, but if you're wearing old man shoes, what does that say about you? So guys, pay attention to your shoes. You don't need like the fancy shoes, but get a good pair of dress shoes and make sure you keep a shine on them. I know it's stupid. It has nothing to do with how successful you are, how smart you are, how nice you are, how much you're going to care about them. In fact, it's probably a negative. It's probably the opposite. If you have worn out shoes, you probably are all those things because you don't care about those things. But that's not how people look at it. Okay? They had a study based on salespeople's tone of voice. Interpersonal skills, meaning sociability, and whether they're extroverted or not. Task-related, meaning your intelligence and your competence. And then anxiety, whether you were nervous or not. So they did another. Now remember, the housewife one said what about tone of voice? Didn't matter. But now we have a bigger study, and what do they say? 3 20-second video clips. And they wanted to know, were these people outstanding or were they average? And they rated them on, for interpersonal skills, they said, is this person collaborative, cooperative? Where, is he emotional or is she emotional, empathetic, enthusiastic, perceptive, understanding, supportive, warm? These are the interpersonal skills. Those are the 9 traits they rated them on. And the task related, which is achieving, analytical, confident, decision, directive, influential, persevering, professional, self-controlled. And as advisors, how much time do we spend on this versus this? Do we spend more time on the interpersonal skills or do we spend more time on task-related skills? Yeah, we all want to be the smartest guy in the room. We're all trying to get more letters behind our name, certification behind our name. We all are doing this stuff, but guys, we have to be good at both of these things because they're going to judge us on both. And then they want to know for anxiety ratings. So guess what the results were? Perceived as highly ranked. So in other words, people who thought they were good people to work with. Well, the results were, I'm sorry, go back here. If the interpersonal skills were highly rated, they were perceived as a person they'd want to work with. Guess what they found out about task related, all the skills? Did not make a difference. That's weird. Didn't make a difference. Anxiety, it was negatively rated. Why do you think it was negatively rated? If you're not confident, do people want to put their trust in you? No. So what should we take away from this? Well, number one, work on interpersonal skills. Where can you work on interpersonal skills? GOTS and the 15-minute drill. That's interpersonal skills. That's how we do it. If you're awesome at GOTS, what do people think about you as a human being? If you fall on the sword when they say I don't know, when you fall on the sword when they're confused and say it's your fault, when you don't make any statements but instead ask open-ended questions, when you give them verbal pats on the back when they say something right, when you empower them, guys, guess what that is? That's all interpersonal skills. Number two, work on your anxiety. Don't do it till the scripts till you get it right. Do it till you can't get it wrong. And quit working on your task-related skills. Getting smarter ain't going to make you more money, guys. And you guys, you know this. Do you guys in your town have that guy across town who is making more money than anybody? And is he a brilliant guy or is he an idiot? He's making more money than anybody. And every time you get in front of his clients, he's got all of his clients in American funds. He's got the 20-year-olds in American funds, 100%. He's got a 90-year-old, 100% in American funds, or whatever it may be. He's an idiot. Why do people work with him? Because guess what? Is he confident? Yes. And does he have good interpersonal skills? Yes, his interpersonal skills are off the charts. He has no task-related skills. He's an idiot. But he's awesome at these two things. That's why he makes money. Now, I'm not saying be an idiot. Well, I kind of am saying be an idiot, because who do we want to be smart, us or them? We want the client to be smart. So actually, we should get better at all of these things. We should get better at interpersonal skills. We should get better at our confidence by knowing our scripts. And we should get better at, instead of working on our task-related skills, we're going to help our clients get better at task-related skills. Then you've got an ATM. So as research shows, interpersonal warmth explains the self-fulfilling prophecy of anticipated. Now this is a weird thing, and I don't want to get too new age on you, but there's a lot to be said about that science is starting to prove some of these new age things actually do work. So research shows interpersonal warmth explains the self-fulfilling prophecy of anticipated acceptance. Study participants who expected to be accepted were perceived as more likable. So if you go into a situation and think people are going to like you, if you go into a situation and think people are going to be positive about you, and that's again, I learned for this coaching, I learned a lot about myself, because I don't go to parties because I'm always worried about what people are going to think about me. And what is this saying here? Should I be worried about what people are thinking about me? No, it's saying I shouldn't be worried about what people are thinking about it. I should assume they're going to think what about me? What should I go in assuming? That people are going to like me. And they found out if I go in thinking people are going to like me, guess what happens 9 times out of 10? So instead of worrying about are they going to like me or not going to like me, if I say something stupid, they're not going to like me. Instead of worrying about that, it's showing this is a huge. This was a massive study, and they found that if you go into a situation and you convince yourself that people are going to like you, they're going to like you. It's odd. Now, is it by looking in a mirror and saying, remember that Stuart Smalley in Saturday Night Live where he'd look in the mirror and he'd say, I'm a good person and people are going to like me. And is that what they're talking about doing? No. Actually, what they're talking about is actively going in and letting them know or knowing that you're going to be likable because of what you are and who you are. So instead of looking in the mirror, they say close your eyes. So every meeting, this would be a great thing to do before every meeting. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and commit to taking a few steps that ensure almost anyone will like you. So instead of looking at the mirror and saying everybody likes you, instead of saying those things, what do they call them? I forget what kind of little sayings they are, which is to talk about good things about yourself, and then now we come. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Nick. Self-affirmation. Thanks, Liliana and Brendan. Self-affirmation. Don't do that. That does not work. That's all about you, right? What are these things? Who is this about? Who are these things about? Commit to taking a few steps that ensure almost anyone will like you. It's about them. Them. When results are basically guaranteed, it's easy to feel more confident and self-assured. Because do we know people will like us if we give to them? Do we know people will like us if we give to them? Yes. Do we know people will like us if we're focusing on them? Do they know people will like us if we're positive instead of negative Nellies? And if we show that we're vulnerable, and again, you can't overdo this because if you're too vulnerable, people will not like you. But showing a little vulnerability doesn't make people like you. Yes. So what they found is that give, and an easy way to do this, give a genuine compliment. How do we do that in 5Q, guys? I've given you the answer right here. How do we do that in 5Q? We look for, as Dale Carnegie said, look for things to give sincere and honest appreciation for. We empower them. And there's 3 times we want to use empowering. One of the times is when? One of the times we want to empower is when? As early in the meeting as possible. Why, guys, this ties right into what we're talking about here. Why do we want to find something to give them sincere and honest appreciation about right away in the meeting? It's creating a what? A first impression. And a first impression of what? I like this person. So you don't flatter them. Remember, sincere and honest appreciation means nothing. You're smart. No, that's flattery. We're saying find something they've said, done, whatever, and tell them they're above average for that particular thing. Show honest, sincere appreciation. And then any other time that you need to make people like you, so if the meeting's getting rough, empower them. So giving a genuine compliment is if you do that, people are going to like you when you go into a meeting. Focus on letting other people talk. How do we do that? So I've added the dash. The actual studies show that giving a compliment, focusing on letting other people talk, being positive, and showing vulnerability guaranteed that people liked you. And I'm showing you here with the dashes, that's what we do with 5Q. We give genuine compliments by empowering. We focus on letting other people talk by asking open-ended questions. We're positive because we never say do we ever say a bad word or phrase about any investment, any advisor, or anything else? Everybody answer that one because we need to know that you get that. Do we ever say a bad word about anything, their investments, their advisor, or anything else? Okay, everybody's saying no. You're right, no. Then if you do, then you're doing something wrong. So we never do. Show vulnerability, and we use apologies all the time, don't we? If they answer the question wrong, we apologize. If we correct them, we apologize. When we brag about why we're talking about all those non-financial things, we apologize. And I know you're probably wondering, why am I covering the property casualty? Why am I covering the medical directives? Why am I covering? We apologize, and I have to apologize. I know we use the power of apologies a lot because it shows vulnerability and it lets people come to our aid. So doing these things is going to have a huge impact on your first impression. So when you've mastered the crib notes and motive, which means that you're going to be confident because you know what you're supposed to say, and you're great at your interpersonal skills by doing your 15-minute drill and getting awesome at GOTS, and you're paying attention to those money makers and breakdowns, that's when you're going to bring on every client that you get in front of, every client that you want. So guys, if you're not closing every single client, what should you be doing? If you don't close a client, what should you do? If you don't close a deal, what should you do? Yes, please, Jonathan says, call us. Yes, call Nick, right. Call us. Get us the tape. We may or may not be able to save that case, but we're going to make sure whatever happened there is going to be fixed so it will not happen again. That's how I made what I made. Not by hoping, not by reading, but by listening to the tapes and correcting just one little thing at a time. So, did you get anything out of this call? Was it a worthwhile call talking about the first impressions and how to take care of those? Good. The biggest thing I'd want you to walk away with is these things. Give genuine compliments, focus on letting other people talk, be positive, and show vulnerability. Use that apology that we use throughout the system. You do those things and you're going to have basically a closed case after case after case. So you guys have a great rest of the week. We'll talk to you all on Monday. Next Monday. Thanks, everybody.